Michigan Out of Doors Online is brought to you in part by...
For over 30 years, Vanguard Outdoors has made the gear that turns a regular hunt into another fine day of field. We know that a good shooting stick or a nice pair of binoculars can make or break your day. Our design teams include serious hunters who work hard to bring you the best sporting optics, shooting sticks, tripods, bags, and more. We are Vanguard Outdoors.
Michigan Folding Doors and Sunrooms. Bring the outdoors in with a sunroom or patio enclosure, folding glass doors, and much more. For 30 years, they've designed, installed, and maintained dream living spaces across Michigan. Unfold the possibilities with Michigan Folding Doors.
Well, hey everybody, welcome to Michigan Out of Doors. Thank you so much for joining us this week. We are excited to bring you Big Buck Night West on this week's show from the Ultimate Sports Show just a week or so back. Some really big deer, some really big stories, so you stay tuned. I'm Jimmy Gretzinger, and it's time for Michigan Out of Doors.
From the first spring rains to the soft summer breeze, dancing on the pine forest floor, the autumn colors catch your eyes. Here come the crystal winter skies. It's Michigan out of doors.
What a beautiful day in the woods.
Someday our children all will see this is their finest legacy, the wonder and the love of Michigan. As the wind comes whispering through the trees, the sweet smell of nature's in the air. From the Great Lakes to the quiet stream, shining like a sportsman's dream, it's a love of Michigan we all share.
Michigan Out of Doors is presented by
Country Smokehouse, a sportsman's destination since 1988, featuring varieties of homemade sausage, jerky, brats, and gourmet entrees. Holiday gift boxes can be assembled in-store or online. Details at countrysmokehouse.com.
By Great Lakes Firearms and Ammunition, a family-owned and operated firearm manufacturer in Sparta, Michigan, offering a wide variety of calibers and colors, backed by a lifetime warranty. More information available at glfallc.com.
By Angler Quest Pontoons, offering fishing pontoons designed by anglers for anglers. Angler Quest pontoons are built with a multifunctional layout to support a variety of fishing adventures. Learn more at anglerquestpontoons.com.
Jay's Sporting Goods. Trust the tradition.
Okay, here we go. Our first lucky hunter for Big Buck Night West 2025 is Blake Dintaman. His dad Adam is here too. Blake, you shot your buck in Lake County, an 18-point with your .223. Was your dad with you out there?
Yes.
Awesome. How old are you?
10.
10 years old. So do you remember how it all happened out there?
Yeah.
Can you tell us?
So basically, we went out there around 6 o'clock in the morning, and we went to the blind, and 15 minutes later, we had the buck walk up in front of us, about 20 yards, and so then 5 minutes later, we decided to shoot it, and then we went back inside for about an hour, and then went back to find it, and it dropped about 25 yards away from where we shot it.
Wow, that's amazing. Okay, so is this your first buck ever?
Yes.
Of course it is. All right, so I imagine there's a little bit more to the story out there. What were you in a blind, Adam?
We do have a blind up there, yep, but we went up for the youth hunt and didn't know we had a deer like this roaming our property. So it was quite a surprise when he stepped out that morning. And it was, like Blake mentioned, it was first light. So we gave a little bit of time just to make sure he could see the deer through the scope. And once we were comfortable, said, all right, I'm going to count to 3. And we counted it off, and he pulled the trigger and made a great shot. And the rest is history.
All right, this is Byron Goodrich. This is an Allegan County buck, shot with a .450 Bushmaster. It's a 10-point, scores 138. Byron is 9 years old. Let's hear the story. What happened with this big buck?
We built a blind and we hopped in it a few days later and we stayed there for a while. Then we seen a 8-point pop out. My dad got me ready on that one, but he's like, no, bigger buck, bigger buck. And he rearranged me and I shot this one and he dropped right where he stood.
Wow, that's pretty calm, cool, and collected right there. Were you excited when their bucks were out there?
Yeah.
Did you think about shooting that smaller one?
No.
Could you see how big he was? Like, how far away was he?
He was about 10 or 20 yards.
Oh, so he's close? No, Dad's saying. Dad, how far was the deer?
He's about 80 yards from us. He come out, a smaller buck came out first, and then I was getting them all set up, and right as I don't even know what happened, just a smaller buck started walking, and all of a sudden I seen just an antler, and I said, Junior, hold up. And then we got him in position, and the rest was history.
Well, that is a great buck and a great story. What are you thinking, next year or something just as big, or what are you thinking?
I'm hoping.
We originally went to it was me, my dad's buddy, and his buddy's kid. We go to our favorite blind on the property, and we're just doe hunting for now. So we're sitting there for like an hour, and first doe comes across, and I take a shot, hit it, the doe goes down, so I'm basically done hunting for the night. And then about an hour later, in the distance on the ridge, we see a buck, and then it was a good 8-point, followed by this guy, which I didn't even see the double drop tines, and he's about 200, I think it was 80 yards out, and I rack up a bullet and I shoot, but I missed the first shot. Comes in about 50 yards closer, and my dad and his buddy they say drop tine. I don't even know what a drop tine was back here, so I'm confused with what they're saying, and they're smacking my back, and I'm having some trouble loading the next bullet in the thing, so I'm kind of freaking out, and they're saying, like, punch it, so I gotta unload everything, take out all the bullets and everything, then put one in the chamber, and I shoot it, and it just drops. We're all freaking out. I don't even know what's going on, and yeah.
So there was buck fever or maybe just a little confusion?
Mostly confusion.
Julie, this is a beautiful buck, and I heard there's quite a good story to go with it.
There is, actually. So my son, Austin, came with me. My husband was up north hunting, and I really wanted to go hunting. We'd gotten some property, and he was wonderful enough to come with me, and we made the trek out to the blind, and when I went into the blind, I collapsed the blinds. So
was it like a tree stand, or was it a ground blind?
Ground blind.
Okay.
Yeah. Collapsed it. I'm sure it was very quiet with all the bucks in the woods. They probably didn't hear me at all. So we were in the blind. This big fella comes out, and Austin hands me the gun. He's like, shoot the deer. And I'm like, my glasses were still fogged up, and I couldn't get a good ethical shot. So I was like, no, you take the buck. And he had it in its sights, and with the most painful voice I've ever heard him say anything, he said, Mom, I can't shoot this buck. This is your buck. So
wow.
The deer goes back into the woods.
Ooh.
I pray. Came back out, like, thank God, came back out, and I was able to take an ethical shot. But it was the hunt of a lifetime. You can't make stories up with your kids and your son being the guide. And then I got a second buck.
Wow, same night?
Same morning.
Oh, wow.
November 15th, yeah, opening morning. So thank God Austin gave up his opening day for me.
So we need to have you start praying for a lot more people, I think.
Yes, it works.
So I got out of work at a decent time and contemplating if I wanted to go hunting. The wind wasn't quite in my favor, so I'm driving and happen to look off and I see down this 2-track a buck chasing a doe. So I'm like, okay, well that's a sign. It's only a couple miles where I hunt.
Tell us about your setup where you're hunting too.
It's very thick, so my shooting lanes are very minimized. So I'm sitting there, and I got out to my spot really quick and quiet, and got up in my stand, and there's a 5-point standing about 50 yards. I thought, okay, well, I got up there pretty quiet. So I'm sitting there relaxed, and sun's beating in my face, and not expecting to see nothing like this. And I hear a small grunt coming from the side of me, and it sounded like just a small little deer. I'm thinking, okay, just a little deer, no big deal. Also, I see antlers coming through the thicket, and it's about 15 yards away, and I don't see a body, I just see antlers. So after a long 5 minutes, he finally comes out and starts walking away. I said, this is not going to happen. So I put the crossbow up to him, and I gave him a quick yell, and he turned, and it wasn't quite quartering away, but enough to get him, and he took off, and I still had 2 hours of daylight left. So I sat there for about 45 minutes. I said, no, I can't wait no more longer. So, yeah, we got down and found some trail, and 40 yards, there he was. And, yeah, didn't seem real yet.
This is Andrew Gordon, shot in Kalamazoo County. This was shot with a 12 gauge. 13 point, scores 167 and 2/8. It has got a ton of mass and a ton of points. Andrew, let's hear, did you know this thing was in there? Were you hunting this deer?
No, actually, I've been hunting public land for the last couple of years. I'm fairly new to hunting, and this year I went all in and put up a couple tree stands and was out all archery season. Shot and missed a 10 point because my limb hit a tree branch. And then opening day during firearm, I went out there, saw that same 10 point on my right, was trying to grunt him in. And then on the left, I saw another buck. And it was this guy.
Is this state land or is this private?
This is state land.
State, okay, good.
Yeah, there's a lot of brush in the way. There's one little window. Right when he went in there, I fired at him. Missed him, he turned towards me, and I shot him in the chest and dropped him. And I've been told this is a pretty good first buck, so.
That is a good anytime, any place, anywhere buck. I mean, so this is your first buck at all?
First buck, and also it was on my birthday opening day, so.
Jeez. I don't know if it's better to be lucky or good, but you're kind of a little bit of, well, I guess you're not that good. You missed a bunch of shots.
Yeah, and all my coworkers and friends hunters, they're like, that's a terrible first buck because you're never going to get anything better than that, so.
Well, you won't, but this is a good memory for you. Let's give him a round of applause for a heck of a buck.
I'd seen him the night before on my birthday, and luckily my brother decided to go to the Green Bay Packers game, so I sat where he usually sits. But I heard a grunt about, I don't know, around 10 a.m. I look over, and there's just a little basket rack coming. I thought, well, that was way too loud of a grunt. Seemed like to be a basket rack, and then right behind him, for some reason, this buck was just following him. There was no doe or anything, but so I instantly I could see kind of where they were heading, and I started getting ready for a shot, and came right into 15 yards. I shot, and I knew it was a little bit back, so I sat in the stand for another 2 hours just waiting. Went back and talked to my dad, and he was like, we need to wait till the morning. And I was like, oh man, this was only noon, so went and started just trying to distract myself. I went over to my grandparents' house, played some pool, and hung out. And then we went back the next morning and found him like 50 yards away. He had bedded down and died there, so it's pretty exciting.
Unbelievable. So you had no idea until you walked up on him exactly what he was?
Oh, no, I knew. We named him Bullwinkle because he kind of looked like a moose. He was just a massive deer, real heavy deer. So I knew exactly what he was, and I had seen him the night previous, so I knew he was like right in the area. So as soon as I saw him, I was pretty stoked.
Rick, tell me the story behind this monster.
This one here was the second day, and then I was around with my daughter. I hunted with her for 19 years, hunted the stand that I was in, or the blind, for 45 years.
45 years?
45 years. And then it was 7:15, and I told Olivia, The lucky time is around 9:30. That's when they start moving, because I hunt 4 big pastures. And then I start fixing my blind, the window in it. And my daughter goes, "Dad, there's a buck and a doe running in the fields here." I said, "Was it a big one?" She goes, "Yeah, I think I can get it." And I looked out the window and I said, "Let me have this one."
I've been sitting here for 45 years waiting for this thing.
So I put my gun out the window, shot. It took off with its tail up, and my daughter goes, "Dad, you missed it." And it was running through the fields, and I said, "How could I have missed this thing?" Anyway, I couldn't see it anymore because it ran over a ridge, and then my daughter, at the last minute, saw it fall. Ooh. And she said, "Dad, I think it fell." I said, "Are you sure?" "I'm not positive." So it was 7:15, so we waited till 11 o'clock, because I said that's when everybody in our group gets done hunting. And we went up to it in the fields here, and the first thing we saw, my daughter goes, "Dad, there's a pile of corn in here, in the bean field." And I said, "That's odd." So we got a little bit closer, and it was this thing here. And it was...
I was going to say, hope it didn't die over an illegal bait pile.
It was unbelievable. It was just still so...
I told Brody, I said, "You know what, we'll go out in the youth season, and I'll give you 2 days, you can hunt for him for 2 days, and then after that, I'm going to have to go after him, in October." So we went out, and it was so hot during the youth season that it just, didn't see much at all, not a lot of activity. And then, come October 1st, we went back out, and not much, seen a couple little bucks, and then didn't get another chance to go till October 16th. And then I called Mom, and I said, "Hey, can Brody get home to go hunting tonight? I really want to go out and take him out." And she said, "No, we can't make it home tonight. We got stuff to do." So I'm like, "All right, well, I'm going to go out and, just kind of scout and stuff," and get out there. And it wasn't 20 minutes into the hunt. Here comes 6 or 8 does right out in front of me. And another 20 minutes later, he steps out about 80 yards away and just starts walking right towards these does right in front of me. And, my heart was racing. And he got out about 22 yards, and I went to shoot him, and I used a crossbow, and the safety was on, so it didn't go off. And here he is standing there. All the does are looking at me like, "What's going on?" So I hurried up, flipped the safety off, and he was still broadside. And right when I shot, he grunted and turned, and I hit him way back and angled up through. So I was like, shoot, I screwed it up. He's going to get away. And so I waited till after dark, and this was about an hour and a half, later. Grabbed my arrow, looked at it, covered in blood. And I called the wife, told Brody, said, "Hey, I think I got curlicue. There's a lot of good sign on the arrow." And so, he was a little bit upset.
I mean, how old are you?
8.
Okay, you've got plenty of time. You'll get another curlicue in your lifetime, right?
Tell us the story about this buck.
Not a whole lot to tell. I was driving around that day. It was late October, and I noticed the deer were moving. I travel all over Southwest Michigan, and I'm saying, they're moving tonight. So if I get home fast, I can throw my on and get out there. So I did.
Stuff on.
Yeah, throw my stuff on. Yeah. So,
this is PBS, man.
I know. People that know me, they'll be shocked.
So you got your clothes on, and out you went.
Out I went. I had found a scrape like 2 days before, a fresh scrape, so I set up on that. So he came in well before last light, which was nice, because I was sitting there. He was quiet. I think that's how he got so big, because I was sitting there, and it's like, "Oh, sorry."
"Oh, my word, there's a buck."
"Oh, my word, there's a buck." Exactly. "Oh, my word." And I said, "That's a nice deer." And I'd set up on him, and I watched him. He was walking up, and I was on him, and of course he stopped with a tree between him and I, and his shoulder. So I was just waiting, and I go, "I'm gonna mess this up. I'm gonna mess it up." And so, but he stepped out, sniffed the scrape, and he was done after that.
How far?
It was 25 yards, and then he ran another 25. I heard a crash, and I was hoping it was him just crashing, but I figured it's like, man, he hit the cornfield, and he just hit some open running room. So I went up to the house, sat for a little bit, came back out. Yeah, he was hit well. He didn't go very far at all.
Okay, we've got 19-year-old Ty Matzke from Genesee County. Shot the 17-point buck with a crossbow, 185 and 1/8 inches. Ty, tell us where you were hunting. Well, you don't have to give us coordinates, but kind of tell us where you were and what was going on out there, set up.
We were in Genesee County, Flushing. It's right behind my house. I was in a 17-foot ladder stand in kind of some thick woods.
Okay, so were you looking for this buck in particular? Did you know he was out there?
We've only seen him on camera once or twice, so I figured he was just passing through, so I wasn't really looking for him.
Okay, so you're sitting out there. Was it afternoon hunt?
Yes, after work.
Okay, so how did it all happen? When did you first see him?
I went out after work one day. It was a good wind, so I figured I'd head out there, and a 4-point came out of the corn, and then he was coming towards me. Then a little while later, he popped out of the corn. It took him about 15, 20 minutes to finally get a good shot on him, and then I put a good shot on him. He ran about 60 yards, and then he was dead.
Wow. So were you shaking when you realized that was the buck you had seen before on camera?
Yeah, I think the tree stand was shaking too.
But you pulled off a good shot, and how long did you wait before you went to put your hands on that buck?
It was probably a good 2 hours. I wanted to play it safe.
Wow. Biggest buck for you, I imagine?
Yes.
He was sneaking in behind me with a doe, and he was just about to step out at 12 yards, and I spooked him, and they ran away from me.
Did you get a good look at the rack at that point?
I'd just seen the back of it just running right away. I'm like, oh my goodness, that's the biggest buck I've ever seen, you know? And he runs out of sight, still on the property I can hunt, and then disappears. And 2 minutes later, right over there, right where he disappeared, boom! I'm like, oh, for sure, he's gone, no way, you know? And the next day I hunted a different spot and just watched some young bucks spar, and I went back out to this spot on Sunday morning, the 17th, and I remember just saying a prayer like, God, if you're going to bring one to me, bring me the one that matters. And about 8:40, he come trailing a doe and gave me a 45-yard shot. It's real thick in there, so I kind of had to pick a little lane and wait till he walked into it, you know.
Were you pretty calm at that point, or were you getting shaky?
I was still pretty calm. I knew it was him, the big buck I seen 2 days before. But as soon as I seen the rack, I'm like, don't even think about it. Just think about the deer. Let's get this done. And then, you know, I thought it was an 8-point. So at 45 yards, I shot this with my 450.
Well, if you stop counting halfway through, it is an 8-point.
Yeah, right? So I made a terrible shot. I shot it way back because he was walking when I shot him. And he only went 30 yards, laid down, and I could see him laying down every time he turned his head to the side. You could see this side of him. And I'm like, if you get up, I'm gonna shoot again, you know. And about 5 minutes later, he got up and went right back down, hard. And I'm like, he's done. I just need to calm down. And at that point, I'm like, my whole body's shivering, like a full body shiver. And
you're still praying at this point.
Yeah, still praying. You know, texting my buddies Grant and all them, telling them, you know, hey, I think I shot the biggest buck of my life. And it just was an overwhelming feeling. I stepped up to him, and I had lost my dad and my grandpa the year before. So it was like a really special moment right there.
I was supposed to be in Ohio hunting with my buddies. Everybody bailed on me, so I was down there by myself. And seeing plenty of deer, but wife's like, just come on home. Like there's plenty of deer on my folks' property. So made the trek north, and it was raining for 2 days straight. And it was raining in the morning a little bit on November 6th. Decided I'm gonna sleep in, drink my coffee, watch the news, whatever. And went out, did kind of a mini marathon sit. Started at 10 o'clock in the morning, a little after 10. Didn't see anything. Didn't see anything till probably about 3:30. Saw some does and yearlings kind of messing around in the northern food plot. And by that time, my father-in-law, Dan, was out in his tower in the north field. And we were texting back and forth like we always do. And he texted me saying, I see the giant. And he said he had him at 80 in the pines. All I saw was the tip of the rack. And Then a couple minutes later, he said he's moving south. He's heading towards you.
All right, so did you nickname him the Giant, or just because it was a giant buck?
Just because it's a giant buck.
Had you guys had him on the land there before?
Yeah, we had him on trail cam a couple times, end of October. But I thought we were just hunting a ghost, you know.
All right, so you saw him again, and then what happened?
So he started heading south. The doe that he was with read the script, and he followed that doe down the trail. I had like a shoulder width window to shoot through, and I just timed my shot good, did the same thing everybody does, and stopped him where I needed to, and 30. Yep. Shot was a little low, so I wanted to give it some time. My father-in-law did not want to give it some time, and I had a significant emotional moment. I'm still sorry for that, Dad. Apologize. But eventually we went out there. It was good blood. He only went 30 yards.
All right. Okay, so what happens after you get out there and you get to put your hands on this buck?
I was just in disbelief, absolute disbelief. So I just thank God. Then I called my taxidermist. In that order.
Thanks to everyone that made Big Buck Night East and West so special. We thank our friends from Showspan and to all the participants. And who knows, maybe we'll see you next year right here on Big Buck Night.
Michigan Out of Doors is presented by
Get away from it all to your own place. With Greenstone's recreational land loans, we'll help you finance acreage of any size so you can own your own place in the great outdoors. Greenstone.
By SCI. SCI helps protect, promote, and preserve wildlife through conservation practices which include hunting. SCI supports and funds conservation programs in the state of Michigan. Learn more how you can get involved at a chapter near you.
By Network Outdoors, connecting members to share experiences, help grow businesses, and to give back to the outdoor community. Learn more at one of 10 monthly meetups or online at networkoutdoors.com. Closed captioning brought to you by Double D Ranch Foundation, a nonprofit 501c3 foundation working to make hunting and fishing accessible for those with disabilities.